Okay, this is part 3 on working on the homemade forklift project. So if you haven't watched part 2 or part 1, I would recommend going and watch those now. So of course I'll have those linked in the description of this video. So in this video, basically going to be making the concrete weight and then getting the hydraulics and everything working. And by the end of this video, this thing should be running, driving, and working. So we got this done already. This is going to weigh at least 1,500 pounds back here because we're going to try to lift at least 3,000. So this has to be at least 1,500 back here for the counterweight. So I'm going to shut this camera off. There'll be pictures of the progress on this. And then I'm going to come back and show you with the camera when it's all done. So finished up the weight yesterday actually, so it's still curing. Maybe later today, if not tomorrow, we're going to pull the plywood off of that and then it can dry fully. I did draw on it this time on how much it weighs, so it weighs 1,520 pounds, so very, very heavy. I did get my hydraulic order, so of course I got all the stuff for that, which actually isn't that much. Even got a brand new filter with the mount for it, and then all the fittings and stuff. The pulley for that hydraulic pump, 7/8 bore, and then there's this little keyway piece, or I guess it's a spline piece. That's going to just get kind of hammered down in there because it just barely doesn't fit. So it should just kind of just get hammered in there and then tighten down that set screw, and then that should be okay to just slide right on the shaft of the pump. I do have all the return lines and stuff ran. Of course, the reservoir is in there, and I got that stuff glued last night, so let's dry. So what I'm going to do now is get all that stuff hooked up, get some oil in here, and then hopefully with any luck, this actually works. So I got all the hydraulics hooked up. I do have to make a little bracket for this oil filter because it's just kind of bobbing around for now. Everything seems to be okay. This is holding up nice. This is a little loose yet, so I might have to tighten that. It does work. That's how high the forks go. I believe it goes 64 inches in the air. So I'm pretty happy with that. Did have a little bit of oil leak, so a little bit of a mess on the floor. So I got to clean that up, but yeah, it actually turned out pretty good. So I'll let this down and then I'll walk you through and how the hydraulic system works, since it actually works now. So let's start at hydraulic reservoir. So of course we got just a PVC pipe that kind of wraps around, goes down here. Then we've got a 1/2 inch hose. You kind of want something bigger the better, basically, for the pump input, because you don't want the pump to start, having issues because it doesn't get enough oil into it. And then that goes into this pump, that's actually designed for a hydraulic motor for a reel mower. It's meant to turn one of the reels for a greens mower. But it's a gear pump, nothing too real special about that. Just designed to be a motor, but I'm using that as a pump here. So then you got another 1/2 inch hose. That one's just a little bit too long that goes out of that. Of course, we have a 3 3/4 inch pulley to a 4 1/4 inch, just to gear it down slightly. Bigger the better for pulleys, because that leaves less of a chance for the belt to slip. And then of course that 1/2 inch hose I was just showing you is this one here. That goes to the pump input on this valve. And then that goes to the high pressure line, which is way too long, so it just kind of loops around, goes all the way to the bottom of this hydraulic cylinder here. Now that only has one port on it because it's a single acting cylinder, so it doesn't have down pressure. So that gets a little bit tricky. The right way to do it would be to buy a more expensive valve than I did, which basically has a plug here. And then what I had to do is basically run a second return line, because you can't just put a plug in here, otherwise bad stuff will happen. You got to get a special valve that's designed to be single acting. So this one here just have a second return line that runs down there. This has to be zip tied up. It's just flopping around for now. And then I'll show you that in a second. And then the main return line starts here and that goes that way. Also has to be zip tied up. I'm gonna go around this way. And then those two return lines I was just showing you meet up here. The main one goes through this hydraulic oil filter, and then that goes to this T. The second one, which is from this part of the valve here, which is designed to go to the cylinder. But in this case, because it's a single acting cylinder, that's just a second return line. That goes to a 3/8 T. Then that goes up to hose just shoved in the tank. And then this is just kind of angled down there a little bit so it doesn't squirt out the top. And then I do want to put some kind of a cover over this because this doesn't, you don't want to thread this in super tight because that is the vent. Just because, especially with the way this is set up, so when that cylinder is all the way extended, this reservoir is just about empty. And then, of course, when you let it down, all that oil just rushes back in. So it needs to have a pretty substantial vent to it. So I think at this point, what I'm going to do is pull the plywood off of this weight, get the side covers put on, get a bracket for that filter, clean up this mess, and see what we do from here. Otherwise, some small little things and ready for paint. So I'm going to get some stuff done, come back, and give you another update. So it's been a while without really making any progress. So I got, of course, the wood off the weight because it was on there for 48 hours or so. Made a little bracket here on each side, just something to keep the weight from wanting to slide off the back. Might make a cover for this, but also I might not. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet with that. I did get a little mount for that filter. It's a little sketchy, but it works. I also found the part number for the filter and I wrote that on there so you know in the future. And then everything else has been holding up quite well. Of course, this hose here blew on me a few days ago, so I replaced that with something a little bit better that's meant to take pressure. Otherwise, it's been doing quite well. We got these tires. These are like just fancy lawnmower tires, basically. They're 8-ply, and they hold just over 2,900 pounds. So that should work perfectly for this. These only hold like 1,700 a piece. And this forklift can definitely lift close to 3,000 pounds. Here's a few pictures of the things I've lifted. So everything from a golf cart to 1,700 pounds of concrete bags. And, well, of course, you know, 2,700 pounds plus of concrete block. And I moved it no problem. So, yeah, that is going to be it for this video. So next video, it'll be painted. Those tires will be on it. The rims will be painted. Everything will be done. And, yeah, that'll be it. And thanks for watching.